Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sthitanam, Namo Ayayanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Mangalam Bhagavan Viro, Mangalam Gautamo Gani, Mangalam Kunda Kundadyo, Jaina Dharmostu Mangalam, Sarva Mangala Mangalyam, Sarva Kalyana Karakam, Pradhanam Sarva Dharmanam, Jainam Jaitu Shashanam, Jainam Jaitu Shashanam, Jainam Jaitu Shashanam. So we'll continue with the chapter of active consciousness. We are almost ready with Vitrag Vigyan part 1. We have write it again, all the articles, and 2 is going on, and maybe next week we will start. In fact, this week only we'll start Vitrag Vigyan 3 also. So you will get a better version of all these 3 textbooks. No addition, only better translation. So yesterday we had seen definition of sensory knowledge and scriptural knowledge. Today we will see the other 3, and then we move on to perception. So the third one is clairvoyance, avdigyan. The direct and crystal clear knowledge of material objects. So direct means there is no five senses and mind. These are not being used. So this is a knowledge which is coming directly from the soul, and through this knowledge we get a crystal clear knowledge of material objects. So another thing that comes out of it is this is not useful for our own experience, because it knows only material objects. So we cannot experience soul with this clairvoyance knowledge. The direct and crystal clear knowledge of material objects with limitations of matter, place, time, and mode. We call it as Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, and Bhav. Okay? Matter, place, time, and mode with limitations. Without the help of senses and mind is called clairvoyance. So this knowledge can only know material objects and not the soul. Hence, for the purpose of self-realization, it is of no use. And telepathy? Spiritual-minded monks. Spiritual-minded monks means realized possessionless monks. Bhavlingi Muniraj, Bhavlingi Sant. Without the help of senses and mind, same as clairvoyance, no material objects and thoughts. So you have to just make a correction here. No material objects and thought, then of or are to be scratched. No material object and thought located in the minds of others. So this telepathy, first of all, only the spiritual minded monks, Bhavlingi Muniraj, can have this kind of knowledge. Clairvoyants, who are the people, who are the soul who have this clairvoyance knowledge? Generally, it is predominantly Narki, hellish beings, and the heavenly beings. Okay, Devlok, Dev and Narki, they both have clairvoyance knowledge by default. And some Muniraj, some Bhavlingi Muniraj might have this Avdigyan also, but not all. It is not a rule, but some of the monks might have clairvoyance also. But
can you repeat it, sir? Who will have clairvoyance knowledge?
Devlok and Narki.
Narki means?
Hellish.
Okay.
And Devlok is celestial being. So they have this knowledge by default. And when it comes to telepathy, only and only spiritual minded monks, not all monks and not any other mundane soul. Only spiritual minded monks, without the help of senses and mind, because it's a direct knowledge, so there is no help of any senses and mind. No material objects and thought. So these also knows material objects, and extra is thought located in the minds of others. So this is again something very unique. Subject to limitations of matter, dravya, place, kshetra, time, kal, and mode, bhav. And that knowledge is called telepathy. So I think this is clear, but again, this is of no use because it does not help in realizing the soul, because they only know material objects and thoughts located in the mind of others. So a soul cannot be realized through this knowledge. Last one is omniscience. Omniscience is the perfect, super sensitive, direct, and clear knowledge. So these two, Avdi and Manaparya, clairvoyance and telepathy, are partial direct knowledge, and omniscience is complete direct knowledge. So omniscience is the perfect, supersensitive, direct, and clear knowledge in which all substances are known together and at once, as they really exist with their infinite attributes and modifications of all the three vast measures of time. So the knowledge that knows all the substances in the cosmos, that cosmos means Lokakash and Alokakash, okay, with their infinite attributes and all their past, present, and future modifications directly, simultaneously, clearly, and accurately. Directly, simultaneously, clearly, and accurately is known as omniscience, Keval Gyan. Now we move on to the three perverted knowledge. Is perverted knowledge also included in consciousness? Persons having wrong faith do not understand the nature of their souls. Their sensory and scriptural knowledge and clairvoyance are called perverted sensory knowledge, perverted scriptural knowledge, and perverted clairvoyance. Because having wrong faith in the fundamentals, their consciousness is false, even when their worldly knowledge is correct. Since they do not have knowledge of the elements, all their consciousness is perverted. So this is Kumati, Kusrut, and Kuavdigyan. So this perverted knowledge it cannot understand the nature of the soul. Since they have this wrong faith in the fundamentals, their consciousness is false. So in simple terms, the knowledge through five senses and the mind for persons with wrong belief. So a person with a wrong belief, their knowledge through five senses and mind is known as perverted sensory knowledge. Such persons have a false perception of the seven purposeful elements or the seven fundamentals elements. Hence, all their knowledge is known as perverted knowledge. Are there kinds of perception also? So, yes, perception is of four kinds: ocular perception, non-ocular perception, clairvoyant perception, and omniscient perception. So, so ocular perception means seeing with eyes. What is non-ocular perception? It is not like that. The ordinary awareness of existence, which is experienced with the eyes, is ocular perception, and the non-ocular perception is the ordinary awareness with the help of the mind and the rest of the four senses except the eyes. So ocular is through eyes and non-ocular is through other four senses and the mind. What about clairvoyant perception? Likewise, the perception of the objects which occur just before the clairvoyance knowledge is called clairvoyant perception. But there is some speciality in omniscient perception. What is that? The direct perception of the whole cosmos, which occurs together with omniscience, is called omniscient perception. There is no gap of time in omniscient perception and omniscient consciousness. But the persons without omniscient knowledge, they have first they have this first they have this perception, and then the knowledge follows. It is never together, but always first the perception and the knowledge. Only in case of omniscient perception, it happens simultaneously. Omniscient perception and omniscient knowledge happens simultaneously. There is no time gap in between them. So this was all about active consciousness, and since this is the characteristic of a soul, this is something that we have to find out from the manifestation. So if you analyze the manifestation, then there is one part which is this consciousness, okay? Knowledge consciousness, and it is there with every soul, whether it is a subhuman state of being or it is a Siddh Parameshti. Everyone has this consciousness in their manifestation. That consciousness is part of the nature of the soul. So, when we analyze the present manifestation, we see that there are two parts. One part is this consciousness, okay? Knowledge, every moment it keeps on happening. Janna. Okay? So this is active consciousness, or it is called knowledge consciousness. This is there with every soul. Okay? So this is one part, and the other part is where this attachments, aversions, passions, toxic emotions, all these form one bracket. So one bracket is this active consciousness, and the other is all these kinds of passions. You can put it into one bracket: attachments, aversions, passions, delusion, the subtle of all these is this vikalp. Okay, this vikalp is also a part of that bracket of attachments, aversions, and delusion. And That is the most subtle one. And if you are able to discriminate between this vikalp and the consciousness, knowledge consciousness, then you will be able to experience your soul. So the basic target or the basic aim of each sadhak is to experience the soul, experience thy soul, our soul, and to experience that soul, we have to do discriminate knowledge between knowledge consciousness and this aversions, attachments, delusions, passions. All these are into one bracket, and even that vikalp also. So so there is a clear distinction between these two. Okay. In Samaysar Granth, Acharya Kunkundev have mentioned this in verse number 181, 182, and 183. So there are two parties. One is upyog, or the active consciousness, and the other is krodadi. There it is written as krodadi, but adi mein every passions, attachments, and delusion, and aversions, all these are into one bracket. So there is a clear-cut distinction. Now, a mundane soul who is not aware of all this knowledge, he is not able to recognize that fine line between the two. But a realized soul, he can always see the difference. And the person who wants to be a realized soul, he also first understand these concepts, and then he trains his knowledge. He trains his knowledge, and then that knowledge becomes pragya. And that pragya is so powerful that it can discriminate between these two. And once that discrimination happens, this realization of soul happens, and the path of liberation starts, and delusions go away, and the soul become a realized soul. So earlier he was an ignorant soul, and now he is a realized soul. So the same ignorant knowledge has now become a trained knowledge, and with that trained knowledge, he can discriminate. He can perform this discrimination of knowledge, and with this, there is a clear-cut demarcation between active consciousness and these passions. So two things are different, and people are not able to realize their soul because they treat both as one. But in actuality, both are different. And Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev in his commentary has written that even the kshetra is also different. Upyog kshetra is different, and the kshetra of passions is also different. So there is a clear-cut difference between these two. So if you are able to understand and make a decision in your knowledge, you can always do it. You can always do that discrimination, and once you do that discrimination, you will realize your own soul. So So that's why this chapter of active consciousness is very important, because it is our gateway to the realization process. And it is present with every soul, whether it is a subhuman soul or a hellish being or a celestial being or a human being. Each and every soul has some part of this active consciousness in them. If they are devoid of this active consciousness, then it will become a matter, just like a matter. So the soul is alive just because of this consciousness. And this is the primary characteristic of the soul. And through this only soul is recognized, and we can differentiate the soul from the non-soul substance. So any of the non-soul substance doesn't have this consciousness. Only the soul has it. So if you are able to connect with this active consciousness, then this active consciousness and the soul are both always together. Okay, they cannot be separated. So if you are able to connect with the consciousness, then you will be able to connect with the soul. So this makes this chapter very important. There is very little to say in words. It is all about experience. So this is something you have to practice, deep introspective meditation. And during that meditation, you will have realization of your soul, and it will be done through this active consciousness. So this upyog is always engaged in the outside material. So that's why it is not able to experience himself. But once the upyog is inbound, okay, so this is the effort that we have to put in, because from time immortal, it is outbound. It is always looking outside. But now we have to train that upyog to be looking within. And once it looks within, the realization happens. So this is the whole process. This is not something that you memorize today and you will be able to experience it, but you have to make a beginning somewhere. So we are just getting things in our knowledge, and so when you sit for meditation, and in that meditation you can have an experience and a clear-cut demarcation between the active consciousness and the passions. So these are all something which needs to be experienced. There is very little you can say in terms of words. That's why it is said that self-realization is not a subject of a talk. It is only your experience that you will be able to realize the soul. So this was very fundamental knowledge about consciousness. When we will study Tattva Sutra, then we will go slightly deep, and we will look at this from different other viewpoints also, and from different parameters also. So once you look at a object from different perspectives, out of which this one perspective is substance, attributes, and manifestation. So this is the first one. Then there is a Utpad Vyay Dravya. Okay, so this is something I will teach you sometime later. Utpad Vyay Dravya. So this is another way of knowing an object. And then there is the third one, that is Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, Bhav. Swadravya, Swakshetra, Swakal, Swabhav. Matter, place, time, and mode. So there are three things through which we can know an object, out of which one is substance, attributes, and manifestation. Then the second one is this Utpad Vyay Dravya. Out of that, Utpad Vyay happens in manifestation, and the substance is Dravya.
Sir,
So,
I have a question. So can you give an example of clairvoyance, telepathy, and omniscience? One example each.
so clairvoyance is something that Darshit ji yesterday spoke, gave an example of Srimad Rajchandra ji. Okay, so that is Audi Gyan. So you are able to know about your past birth, and of course it happens up to a limited matter, limited place, limited time, and limited mode. Okay, so this is clairvoyance knowledge. Then Manaparya, or the telepathy. Telepathy, only a Bhavlingi Muniraj can have it. No other Muniraj also are eligible for that. So a spiritual minded monk, Bhavlingi Muniraj, he can have this telepathy knowledge. And again, in that telepathy knowledge, he knows about the objects and thoughts located in the mind of others. So in Pratman Yoga, we have seen many stories that a person went to the Muniraj, and just because that Muniraj happened to have telepathy, so he was able to realize what this person is thinking now, right? So there are many examples in the stories of Pratman Yoga where this kind of statements do come, that a monk is able to know what the other person is thinking about now if he is a spiritually minded monk. That is the condition. Not all monks have telepathy. Only special spiritually minded monks have this kind of telepathy. So this is about telepathy. And now Keval Gyan. So all these matters that Dwarka will burn, all this is from omniscience knowledge only. Krishna, through his omniscience knowledge, was able to see that Dwarka is going to, the whole Dwarka is going to get burned after 12 years. He knew the exact time, everything, who will be doing it, and who is going to die, and who is going to survive. He was knowing everything, and it all came in his divine sound also. And similarly, about Mahavir Swami, Adinath Bhagwan's, it also came in Adinath Bhagwan's divine sound, Divya Dvani, that Marichi is going to be the 24th Tirthankar, and in between he will have so many births and all. So there are many examples of this kind of knowledge being practiced by the Tirthankars. Of course, every Tirthankar have this knowledge, and through that knowledge only these scriptures have come to us, and so that is the best example.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Jayendra. Sorry, somebody else wants to go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you, sir.
Okay, Jai Jinendra, I just wanted to say that in recent times when Sri Kanji Swami came to Nairobi and he
Okay.
gave one of his lectures, he spoke about the 6 or 7 bhav that he's going to take from here.
So that was all based on Bensri Ben's Jati Smaran Gyan.
Okay.
So Bensri Ben had this Jati Smaran Gyan, and through that knowledge, she came to know that what they were in previous birth and what they are going to be in the next birth and all. So, but there is no reliability on that, right? So,
Okay.
so it is not something that we need to discuss about. This is something that needs to be, hidden, just because there is no, we don't have any proof of that, right? Tomorrow I may say that I have Jati Smaran Gyan. So you would ask where I was. I would say you were in subhuman stage. So you have nothing to prove, no? So you have to believe whatever I say. So we don't consider that knowledge to be correct, or it may be also correct. We don't say no also, but this is something that we don't want to get involved into.
Okay.
Because
Thank
it's
you.
all very controversial, and if you argue with somebody, you will not able to justify your logics, and he will also not able to convince you about his logics. So you just keep on fighting and fighting, and no conclusion. So, and we are not concerned also if somebody has that knowledge or not, because that knowledge is again of no use in self-realization.
So is that knowledge part of telepathy or clairvoyance?
Which one?
Like when Benji Ben said these things, would
That
be
is a part of sensory knowledge.
No, sir, Jati Smaran will be sensory knowledge or clairvoyance?
It is again a sensory knowledge only. Because humans don't have clairvoyance. I think so. So, so it is a part of Matigan, that as I'm sure. And as I said, when we will be studying about memory, Smruti, Pratyabhigyan, Tark, Anuman, all this, then at that point of time, this is a part of memory only. Is only a part of memory. This is a special kind of memory. So there is nothing extraordinary about it, and we should not be get attracted to it. Okay. So our job is to just study and understand these concepts. So even not today also, there are some mumukshu who keeps on talking about this only. So I don't take interest in those talks, and everyone has his own choices. So I have made that choice so that I will not discuss anything about that, because again, we have this so many good books from Kunkund Acharya Dev, and there are good commentaries by Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev, and there are many other Acharyas books all we have. So this is enough for us to read and make our own decisions. So we always rely on something which is very authentic, and which is a pramanik from the Agam point of view. That is more important. I don't mistrust or I do believe that Pensriben was also a realized soul. So there is no doubt about that. But this part actually, this is something that we don't want to highlight. That's all. And our job is just to understand these concepts. It's all written by acharyas only. And there are some good scholars also, just like Pandit Todarmalji, Pandit Banarasi Das ji, then Pandit Rajmalji Pandey, then Pandit Jaichandji Chabda, Pandit Daulat Ramji. These are some of the scholars who were at par with acharyas. And they had very good intellect, and they were very intelligent, and they wrote from their own experience. And these are all again very certified scholars. And we can make out, even if you read something, you can always make out that this is coming from the bottom of his heart, or it is just coming out like a puppet. So these all scholars also were realized soul, and they also did their bit with writing good books. And of course, we are going to study Moksha Prakasak in detail. So that is by Pandit Todarmalji. And then we are going to study Chedala in the next semester only. No, not next semester, third semester. So again, that is written by Pandit Daulat Ramji. Then we have some other books also, which are written by scholars only. So these were all realized scholars. So it is as good as written by acharyas and other monks. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. So we'll move on to the next chapter. Pandit Daulat Ramji, we already had done it in Vitrag Vigyan 1 and Vitrag Vigyan 2 also. In Vitrag Vigyan 2, the mistakes regarding 7 elements is again taken from Chedala, and that is written by Pandit Daulat Ramji. So you know the history or the introduction of Pandit Daulat Ramji. So we will move on to the chapter only. It's a small chapter of just 2 pages, and we are going to finish it in one class only. But I will teach you something different which is not there in this book. So this is all we will do in our next class. Today we have a teachers meeting now at 9:15. It has started. So I would like to join that. And so we'll close this class.